There's some worrying news regarding the market share for Team Red. If you're an AMD fan, the latest reports show it dropping down to 8%, followed by Intel at 4%, with NVIDIA climbing to 88% in GPU market share. Now, I'm going to give you some details on this and my thoughts on how AMD could climb back, and a whole bunch of other GPU news today. But first, today's Black Friday, and I want to tell you about a deal from our sponsor. A huge thank you to today's sponsor, Flexispot, because this is my wife's desk. She got a new classroom, new teaching job this year, and this is the desk and computer setup they gave her. She came home complaining. I was like, okay, we can definitely improve that. And Flexispot reached out to me with an offer to take a look at their desks. My wife picked out the Flexispot EC5 standing desk. It's the 55 by 28 with a white frame and bamboo curved desktop, but you can customize your desk with your preferred color and size of the desktop, desk, and frame. Now, this is especially cool because there's going to be a special deal for Black Friday and Cyber Monday from the 25th through the 28th, where you can get up to 50% off. And also you can get your order for free. They're doing 3 free orders per day. And I highly recommend this because I've got to say, the whole thing feels super high quality. The raising and lowering is incredibly smooth. The desk feels sturdy at any of these heights. And just overall, my wife's really happy that she can come in there and use it at the standing height. But if she has a little time to sit down and eat lunch, she can pull up a chair and lower it. And just overall, the whole thing is just a massive improvement. So once again, just huge thank you to Flexispot. And I highly recommend you guys check out the link in the description or the pinned comment to look for that 50% off and maybe even get yourself a free order. Okay, so what does this market share thing actually mean? Where is this all coming from? Well, first of all, when you look at the entire market share, it hides some stuff. And generally, just there's a massive decline in desktop graphics. We're seeing a 15.43% decline, and notebook graphics seeing a 30% decline. And this was termed as the biggest drop since the 2009 recession. I think they mean recession. Anyway, but if we scroll through this, there's a whole bunch of interesting slides, and you could look at this, but a lot of these combine notebooks and integrated graphics and all of that. I was interested if we had any information on the actual discrete market, so I'm out of here. So this separates out the total PC DGPUs. I think we're looking here at the actual discrete GPU market. And then we also see the iGPUs over here on the right. So here's our overall trend from quarter 3 21, quarter 2 22, and quarter 3 22. And we're seeing in, man, this thing is all like, it's difficult. There's the key. There we go. All right, we see AMD in the dark blue here. NVIDIA is the lightest blue color, and then Intel is kind of a medium darkness blue. Anyway, so in the discrete GPU market, this was kind of interesting to see how is Intel Arc doing. But what might be a little bit concerning here for AMD is just that, well, Intel has jumped to 5% when they launched, where we saw AMD drop from 17% to 15%. So Intel seemed to claw a little bit away from both. But then when we see quarter 3 22, we're seeing NVIDIA jumping to 88%, Intel hanging on at 4%, and AMD dropping down all the way to 8%, and that's in the discrete GPU shipments. Now, what is going on here? Well, in quarter 3, I believe this would be factoring in GPU launches like the RTX 4090, and AMD didn't have as exciting of a launch, right? Their new GPU generation isn't coming out up until December. So we're looking at December 13th. Now, AMD has promised us quite a bit here. We're seeing up to 82% more performance versus their 6950 XT in ray tracing. Now remember, up to does not mean average. And they're also saying up to 67% more performance versus the 6950 XT in rasterization. And in these charts, if you actually go ahead and divide these though, they are, in the 40-something to 50-something to 60-something% range in terms of improvements over the 6950 XT. So they are promising quite a bit. Now, how will that stack them up against the 4080? Now, they were, at the 4080 launch, eager to capitalize on some like size advantages and pricing advantages compared to the RTX 4080. However, I was hoping that now, a week after we got the 4080, we would see AMD publishing actual performance numbers against the 4080. The 4080 has been out long enough that AMD should have been able to get their hands on one and benchmark it and let us know how it stacks up. Now, maybe that is coming and they just haven't done that yet. So what I'm going to mention here is 3D Center always gives a really interesting meta-analysis of the GPU launches. So this is the RTX 4080. And they're taking a whole bunch of reviews from sites like Computerbase, Eurogamer, Igor's Lab, Kit Guru, and more. They're taking the tests that they ran, and then they give us averages of results versus the various GPUs being tested. So here we can see the 6950 XT. Now, to be clear, that's not AMD's new upcoming GPU. That's the one that they are comparing against, right? They're comparing their own new lineup against their own 6950 XT in rasterization and ray tracing. So that's right now going to be the only kind of comparison point we could get against the 4080. Now, since AMD is giving us 4K numbers, let's look at those. And if we look at the average performance, each site, depending on their platforms, the settings that they use, the games that they use, all of that, can get slightly different results. But the overall average is showing that the 6950 XT has 74.2% of the performance of the RTX 4080, which is set as the 100% baseline here. Now, they also rounded up the various ray tracing tests, and in the ray tracing at 4K, we're seeing the average result for the 6950 XT as 52.9% of the performance of an RTX 4080. So if we do pop those into a calculator over here, we're seeing that if you divide 100 by 74.2, this is showing the RTX 4080 has about a 35% rasterized performance advantage over the 6950 XT. And it has about this is dividing the ray tracing performance. We're seeing the 4080 having about an 89% performance lead at 4K ray tracing. So if we do want to now speculate where that puts our Radeon GPU, well, again, they're claiming up to 67% more performance in rasterization. But if you look at these results divided individually, they're generally between the mid to upper 40% into the 50%, and even in Cyberpunk seeing, I think something like a 67% range. I think that's where they're seeing that 67% here. But it's in the 40s to 60% uplift, and is giving us a wide variance of results. But the point is, all of the ones that they're showing should indicate a larger percentage increase over the 6950 XT than we are seeing from the 4080. So it should be ahead of the 4080 in rasterization, but they would need an 89% ray tracing performance uplift in order to catch up to the 6950, to the 4080 there. And they're claiming a best case scenario of up to 82%, which is not quite there. That would put it just a little below the 4080. But again, that's highlighting their best result. Many of these results are significantly less than that. So it's definitely looking like AMD is going to be losing in ray tracing performance. By how much is still kind of a question mark. But getting a win in rasterization performance, but by how much is still a question mark. Anyway, so I'm hoping that we'll see the market share there start to climb back up for AMD as they launch their new GPUs. Anyway, in other news, you guys know I'm a huge fan of OLED monitors. Ever since I got my LG C1 TV that I use as my main gaming display, I'm just a huge fan of OLED technology. It's awesome, and so I'm really excited to see more OLED gaming monitors on the way. MSI is teasing a 49-inch QD-OLED panel. So LG likes to do the WOLED, the WOLED, whereas the QD-OLED panel has some advantages. I don't need to go into all those details right now. You can look it up. Anyway, it's also going to have a 240 hertz refresh rate like we're seeing from the new announced ones from LG, but again, this uses the QD-OLED panel. Now, a 49-inch ultra-wide is pretty big. The overall result here is it's a 5120 by 1440 resolution. So this is more wide than a 3440 by 1440. Basically, this would be the equivalent of 1440p monitors stuck together. That's the resolution that you're getting there. So it's like running dual 1440p monitors, but stuck together with no bezel in between, if you want to think about the size. And this seems to be some kind of speculation from TFT Central, but since it's based on a Samsung panel, they're expecting like a curvature of 1000R, that kind of thing. Now, I've already reported that LG has announced a new OLED gaming display with 240 hertz, but at that time I was just saying it was a 27-inch OLED gaming monitor, 1440p, which was really exciting, and not ultra-wide, which is exciting for the people who don't want the ultra-wide monitor. Now, the price is big, but a lot of people commented the last time we talked about this just saying, you know, that price is way too high for a 1440p 27-inch monitor. When it's the first gaming 1440p 27-inch OLED monitor, it's going to have a pricing premium. It's exciting to see these come out, but you would expect to see the pricing get better over time as there's more competition and they're not the first one. So when new technologies enter a space, they're always going to charge a premium at first, and then prices should hopefully start to decline. But anyway, that was old information, showed you that in the previous news video. But it's looking like there's also going to be a 45-inch OLED WQHD, so that is the 1440p 3440 by 1440 ultra-wide with an 800R curve, and this is again at the 240 hertz, and this is again going to be the WOLED technology. And I'm assuming this is also the matte finish. Did they not have the specs on it? But yeah, I think it's the matte finish like the 27-inch. So some people were disappointed to see that it's not the glossy coating, which some people prefer and some people don't. Now, in other news, I think this is going to be really useful. A lot of you guys know I like the convenience of TechPowerUp's GPU and CPU databases for quickly pulling up stats and even performance numbers of GPUs, that kind of a thing. Well, SSDs can be really annoying to try to find all the specific details on, but it's looking like TechPowerUp is taking on an SSD database. And I think this is going to be a great thing for just the overall PC hardware enthusiast market to see this happening. Now, I don't think it's perfect yet. I think it is still, you know, missing a lot of models and older models. So this needs time to build up and gain traction. But I'm just really excited to see this. I think that's going to be really coming in handy. Now, speaking of big databases and benchmark hierarchies, Tom's Hardware 2 days ago did publish their CPU benchmarks and hierarchy for 2022. And so you can scroll through that. Now, keep in mind that depending on which tests you use and which games you're using and all of that, different CPUs can see wildly different results. So this isn't the be-all and end-all. But you can see here that generally the 5800X3D from AMD's 5000 series is a very competitive offering if you're still on the AM4 platform. So it's a really intriguing upgrade if you want to stay on that platform for a few more years. Whereas AMD's 7000 series is doing well, but if you want to go with Intel's 13th gen, they do seem to go a little bit faster, although AMD has been announcing price drops officially on their 7000 series to try to make them more competitive. Now, they're saying that this is a temporary new price, not necessarily permanent, although honestly, I think they probably should keep it permanently to make it more competitive with those Intel offerings, especially given motherboard pricing. Because that's the last thing that I think AMD needs to work on here is, I think these prices are much better for their CPUs. If the motherboard pricing also came down, then I think they'd be in pretty good shape on their 7000 series. Now, in other news, we're seeing the Galax GeForce RTX 4090 HOF overclocked to 3.85 gigahertz, breaking another 14 world records. We'd already seen it breaking a whole bunch of others. I don't want to dwell on these, but here's a whole bunch of more world records. Now, again, this is obviously extreme overclocking with like probably LN2, right? And all of that. So this isn't saying you're going to be getting those results. But kind of interesting to see it happen. Now, in terms of something that might actually affect you, if you're interested in buying an RTX 3060 Ti, I'd been reporting that originally these had GDDR6 memory, not GDDR6X memory, but that there were models launching with GDDR6X memory, but it wasn't clear whether those would completely replace the normal 3060 Ti's or if they would kind of coexist. Well, according to, I'm getting it from Video Cards here, but they're getting this information from My Drivers, which is a Chinese outlet. They're saying that NVIDIA and add-in card partners are to gradually replace and eventually cancel the GDDR6 version of the 3060 Ti. So they're feeling like this is going to be an overall replacement, not just a coexist, at least over time. So interesting. We'll see how that plays out. Now, in terms of also more updated 3000 series GPUs, I'd also reported a while ago that the 3070 Ti was rumored to be getting a version of it with a GA102 GPU instead of a GA103 GPU. So basically using the GPU in the 3080 and above class, rather than using the same GPU as the 3070. And when I say same GPU, obviously with different numbers of cores enabled and speeds and all of that. But we're seeing reports here from Video Cards that Colorful is launching the GA102-based 3070 Ti cards. Zotac had already done so, so this is seeming to become more widespread. So this is interesting to keep an eye on those different versions of the cards. Now, how about the new GPUs coming from AMD? Let's circle back around to that. So there had been some articles posted that it was questionable whether the board partners would actually have their cards available for the December 13th launch, or whether it would only be the reference models at that date, and that the partner cards would be delayed another, well, we didn't have a specific amount of times, but delayed after that. It's looking like actually there should be some board partners cards available at launch date. We're seeing computer-based tweeting. Will the custom designs be late? AMD board partners tell us as of now they should be ready on December 13th. Now, we have seen some of these cards being shown off already. We're seeing the Power Color 79 XTX Red Devil. I can get myself out of the way here for that nice looking card there. The Red Devils always tend to are excellent coolers and all of that. Now, I don't think we're getting a huge amount of details on this. More marketing speak. The Darkness Dominator, Red Devil, with its restless desire to rule the universe, but no wish to see any light. Devil 13, the ruler of the underworld. Anyway, Power Color's marketing. I don't know, guys. Does this speak to any of you? It's interesting to me. Anyway, I like the cards though. Now we're seeing Sapphire teasing the Radeon RX 7900 Nitro series with LED illuminated cooler. So we're just kind of getting that. So we hope you're ready for what's coming next. Again, we're just getting a little piece of that card shown off, not a whole bunch. And we are seeing, well, I guess that's all I had pulled up for you. So let's jump over to the Witcher 3 Next Gen update is coming with AMD FSR 2 and NVIDIA DLSS support. And this update is coming on December 14th. So maybe you'll be playing it on your new 7900 XTX using FSR 2. Who knows? They do have a trailer you could take a look at. And honestly, you know, the game's graphics don't hold up as well. You know, it was it was great at the time. You know, it does look a bit dated, but they are starting to update some of that to be a little more modern with this update. We're seeing ray traced global illumination. Again, it's nice to see FSR2 and DLSS available, especially we'll have to see how hard that RTGI hits performance. There is going to be a performance mode on consoles at 60 FPS. The quality mode for consoles will have RTGI. I would imagine that would be a 30 FPS mode, whereas the performance mode is going 60 FPS. New camera perspectives, reworked textures, and foliage should help bring up the visuals a bit. Cross progression between console and PC is nice, and some various other updates and whatnot. And so anyway, I think it's really interesting. Well, I'll definitely want to take a look at that. Hopefully I'll get a chance to benchmark the update on the channel and all of that. Now, if you're looking for a deal, how about Star Wars Squadrons for free on Epic Game Stores? So they, you know, they like to give you away free games to get you coming back to their store. Well, if you're interested in Star Wars Squadrons, it does seem to run pretty well on a lot of hardware. So even if you don't have the greatest hardware, you can pick that up from Epic Game Store. In other deals, WCCF Tech is reporting the 6900 XT under $630, the 6800 XT under $500, and the 6700 XT under $330, and 6600 under $200. Now, I hadn't posted the deals as being this low myself because they're relying on the Zip payment system that has like a bundled promo thing through Newegg. So to be clear, I still think that the $515 with rebate and like $535 without rebate on the 6800 XT is a fantastic deal, but to count it as under $500, that's only if you're using the Zip payment system, which gets an extra discount. Now, if you're fine with using that system to get those extra discounts, then Newegg is an interesting place to look for some deals on AMD's GPUs right now. Now, the Callisto protocol has had its PC system requirements revealed. This game looks pretty interesting, and it's looking like the minimum requirements are only a GTX 1060 or Radeon RX 580, and an Intel Core i5-8400 and Ryzen 5 2600 with 8 gigabytes of RAM. Now, that being said, that's just the minimum requirements, and it's not telling us what sort of frame rates you'll be getting with that. Because if that's 1080p 60 FPS, hey, pretty good. If that's 1080p 30 FPS, that's a whole other story, right? Now, the recommended specs aren't too bad either, actually. We're seeing the Intel Core i7-8700 and Ryzen 5 3600 with 16 gigabytes of RAM, and a GTX 1070 and RX 5700, and noting that an SSD would be recommended. Now, usually recommended specs are at least 1080p 60 FPS at some sort of reasonable settings, at least medium, something like that. And if a 1070 can do that, that's not bad. But again, I'm just speculating because it doesn't give us the note for the resolution and settings and frame rate. So it is what it is. Now, last few quick things. AMD's Radeon Raytracing Analyzer has been made open source for Windows and Linux platforms. So this is to help developers figure out, I think, where ray tracing bottlenecks are occurring, to help them figure out how to better optimize that ray tracing performance. So this is, I'm not going to dwell on it too much because probably of limited interest to most of you, but possibly very interesting to some of you. Anyway, now I thought this was interesting. If you need to cool a, I don't even know what to tell you, your CPU and up to 4 GPUs at once with an AIO, why settle for mounting, you know, like a 420 millimeter radiator on your case when you could get this external radiator that's bigger than your entire PC? Now, to be fair, what they're showing off here is if you have like a small form factor PC and then you could launch this, maybe even exhaust it out your window. Or if you need a heater nearby, maybe your feet are cold. You could point this at your feet while you're gaming and warm those up over the winter time. Anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. And we're also seeing from Tom's Hardware report that AMD's Dragon Range and Phoenix APUs are likely to feature RDNA 3 GPUs according to driver patches. And anyway, it's interesting to see what sort of performance we could get out of RDNA 3 APUs. That could be very, very interesting. And I hope that all of you have an excellent day. Oh, and if you're interested in more Black Friday deals, rather than trying to round them up in a video, I do like to post my favorites on my community page, so you can take a look over there throughout the day if I see anything that jumps out at me, because sometimes there's certain ones that are available at certain times and whatnot. Again, I hope all of you have an excellent day.